He's a menace. Too soft. He's a low-energy menace. Too easy. Maybe he's a weak-minded menace. A feckless, treacherous, unhinged menace. Jared, he was here. Right here. Right here, Jared. Right here. Here today is Simon Krieger, discussing the destruction of Braithwaite Bridge. What's Roxxon's stance on this group, the Underground? Their leader, the Tinkerer, went after you in her speech. Welcome to Just the Facts, with me, your truth-slinging host with the most, Jonah Jameson. Sad news, listeners. My Christmas charity spectacular was canceled due to masked vigilante mayhem. That's your intro? Lame! We in the business call that burying the lead. Hype it up! Let me ask you something, Danny. Do you ever think about what you're inciting? About your journalistic integrity? Because your campaign against Roxxon is baffling to an actual journalist like myself. You should be attacking the young, unproved vigilante who keeps causing problems in Harlem. The only problem Spider-Man fixes are the ones he causes. I won't praise the arsonist for putting out his fire. Meanwhile, Roxxon built a beautiful plaza in a failing neighborhood. You are clearly emotional, young lady, so I'm invoking the mercy rule on this debate. Jared, shut it down. And whose idea was it to debate a teenager? There are no good optics to destroying a child. Get the car. I need a hot stone massage. They tried. They tried to silence me. Tried to kill me. Who? Whoever engineered Rhino's escape and sent him careening through my studio right in the middle of recording my charity Christmas special. Think of the children. And think of me. Because Jonah Jameson refuses to be silenced. So in my tireless mission to bring you just the facts, I'm holding my nose and broadcasting from my producer Jared's disgusting hovel of a studio apartment that he shares with... how many others? 5? Good Lord, Jared, when I was your age, I owned a 2-bedroom on the Upper West Side. Your generation. I swear. Anyway, if you are wondering who arranged Rhino's escape and pointed him right at your favorite truth speaker, witnesses on the ground are saying both Spider-Men showed up at the exact moment Rhino broke free. Coincidence? I think not. Merry Christmas! Despite Spider-Man and his sidekick's best attempt to ruin the holidays, I'm here to unwrap the best present you'll get all day. Me, Jonah Jameson. Now isn't that better than an overweight septuagenarian breaking into your home? Caller lines are open, so dial in and spend the Yuletide with Santa Jonah, ho, 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 as I sip on this hot Wait a minute. Jared, where are my marshmallows? Out? How could they be out? Friends, the war on Christmas is brutal and relentless, but we soldier on. Call now. Ho, ho, ho! We've got our first caller coming down the chimney. You're live and festive on Just the Facts with Jonah Jameson. If you're hearing this, you're one of the lucky ones. We've had intermittent power outages casting a lump of coal-sized shadow on today's festivities. These outages are especially troubling, given the quote-unquote storm of the century nor'easter predicted to hit our fair city later this week. Nothing worse than being caught in a blizzard without power. But I'm assured that relevant authorities, along with Roxxon, are working overtime to restore power and track those responsible. Involvement of a group of dark web hacktivists who call themselves the Underground has been suggested, and a handful of eagle-eyed listeners report seeing Spider-Man manipulating power transformers right around the time of the outages. Now, many people say I've got the IQ of a rocket scientist, but it doesn't take one to connect these dots, folks. Does this mean the spider hacker is responsible for all those robocalls asking for my social security number? I can't prove it, but sometimes you just know. Folks, here we are again. A major disaster in our city. Explosions, a bridge collapse, weapons discharged amid rush hour traffic. Thank heaven no lives were lost. But we can't be that lucky every time. What if this attack had happened a few days later, during the so-called storm of the century the 5 o'clock news won't stop jabbering about? From disaster to bedlam in a snap. Now there's plenty of blame to go around, including to these underground thugs. That being said, it'd be a dereliction of my duty if I didn't point out that the Underground's attack was little more than an armored car heist until Spider-Man's bratty little sidekick showed up and tried to handle things all on his own. What happened next? He made things worse. This new kid wants to be Spider-Man? Well, he sure is living up to the name. Speaking of which, anyone notice that the original Spider-Man hasn't been seen lately? I think I know why. He's like the parent pretending that the kid melting down in the cereal aisle isn't theirs. But we know the apple doesn't fall far from the web. We know it! You're the apple, Spider-Man! Friends, today I'm gonna have to be the disappointed parent. Not because of Jared. He's actually doing a fine job for a change. No, I'm disappointed that once again, some of you have allowed yourselves to be convinced that it's okay for a complete stranger with zero legal authority to parade around in a Halloween costume pretending to be some kind of savior. And once again, that misplaced faith has resulted in an unimaginable disaster. The truth is, it doesn't matter if you think Spider-Man is good. It doesn't even matter if he thinks he's good. What matters is that every time something gets destroyed in this city, he's there. Or now, his protege is. Ask yourselves, with all these crises we've faced, can we really afford to deal with twice as many? And where will it all end? Spider-Girl? Spider-Punk? Spider-Pig? While I vomit at that thought, enjoy these important messages from our fine sponsors. You all remember Wilson Fisk, don't you? The so-called kingpin of crime? I'm told he's getting 5-star treatment in his cell, which is nicer than Jared's apartment, while his shark lawyers appeal his conviction. But it seems there may be some justice in the world after all, because a new Daily Bugle expose reveals that his now dilapidated Fisk Tower, which is scheduled for demolition in the new year, has been taken over by squatters. And isn't it just perfect karma that this garish monument to the ego of a guy who always felt he was above the law has been overrun by a bunch of freeloading bums? Next thing you know, Spider-Man will turn the joint into his personal headquarters. So how does it feel to be hoisted on your own petard, Wilson? No, Jared, that is not an obscenity. Read a book! Now, I know many of you brushheads love to listen to this show on your subway commute. I personally do my best to avoid setting foot in those feces-infested death tubes. But Jared informs me that a major outage recently stopped all trains going through Harlem. I'm happy to report that service to the area has since been fully restored, but it should come as no surprise to learn that the new Spider-Man was seen futzing with transit authority equipment during the outage. Now I can already hear the zealots among you whining through your phones, but Jonah, obviously Spider-Man fixed the problem. Blah, 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 blah. Let's just stop right there and unpack that. Why would a guy who can swing through the skies and ignore Manhattan gridlock entirely need to even think about what's going on with the subway? If you just follow the threads, they take you right to the inevitable destination, the corner of Spider-Man Street and Menace Avenue. Stop me if you've heard this before. Spider-Man chases villain through city. Millions of dollars of property damage follow. We're still tallying up the damage from Rhino's rampage, then the bridge disaster, and now it seems the Junior Menace decided to go for the hat trick with his new frenemy, the Tinkerer. I say those two should get a room, preferably a prison cell, and hash out their differences in private, somewhere very, very far from New York. And I don't just mean Jersey. I'm talking Oregon or even Alaska. then maybe I could have one peaceful night at home watching the great Wakandan cook-off without getting interrupted by my fire escape being torn off the side of my building. Darn it, that reminds me. Jared, did you set my DVR? Batten down the hatches, folks. The long presaged storm of the century, one heck of a blizzard, is blowing in. Make sure you're stocked up on supplies. My loyal listeners will already have plenty of Jameson's jerky, guaranteed to last longer than radioactive fallout. Meanwhile, if you're planning on taking the in-laws to visit Trinity Church, I got some bad news. Parts of this sacred local landmark are now rubble, following yet another skirmish involving Spider-Man and the Tinkerer. Thankfully, Roxxon was able to secure the scene quickly. The current whereabouts of either masked menace are unclear, but right now, that's secondary to the fact that Roxxon has generously offered to pick up the cost of Trinity's restoration, even though the damage was caused through no fault of their own. That's the kind of selfless giving we need more of this time of year, folks. Roxxon just made my nice list. I'll give you 3 guesses who's on the naughty list. And they all start with Spider. And end in Man! Chaos. Pandemonium. It seems far too often that New York suffers apocalyptic crises. But that's exactly where we are again today, as fighting between Roxxon and the underground spills into the streets. Worse, it appears the epicenter is Roxxon Plaza in Harlem. Residents are reporting a strange glow and unsettling sounds coming from the plaza, even through the blizzard. We may be in for another long, dark night of the soul, folks. No matter what, stay safe, check on your neighbors, and keep tuning in. The only way we get through this is together. Jared, open your apartment to refugees. And we're full. This place really is tiny, isn't it? My apartment? Well, I'd love to. But HOA rules, you know how it is. Listeners, you all know that I pride myself on truth, integrity, and facts. It's why so many of you tune in on a regular basis. And while I'm always 110% genuine, every so often even I have to eat a bite of crow. Today is one of those days. I've been tough on this new Spider-Man since the disaster on Braithwaite Bridge. For good reason. The kid screwed things up so bad, even the original model would have blushed redder than his costume. The classic one, not that ugly new thing. And I'm not backing down from those criticisms. But today I must also acknowledge that the youngster did something truly heroic. With an unstable energy source on the verge of wiping Harlem off the map, this youthful Spider-Man sacrificed his body to get the danger away from innocent people. He nearly died for it. And by all accounts, he even took out the Tinkerer. Now, I'll never be able to fully support someone who is so wantonly outside the law. But on this day, I'll admit, the kid done good. And that is just a fact. Good news, friends. My sources say underground activity has subsided significantly, and the Tinkerer is officially presumed dead. We survived the storm of the century, and our wounds are healing. But New Yorkers must remain ever vigilant. This is the greatest city on earth, which means there will always be lunatics trying to make a name for themselves by disrupting the tranquility of our daily lives. 1 minute you're washing down a delicious everything bagel with a fresh cup of Pana Fuerte coffee. The next minute, not one, but 2 masked menaces run by your window, and you discover the hard way that scalding hot is great in the cup, but agony in your pants. Well, I, for one, pledge to continue rallying the public against such crises, and anything worse that may yet come. After much reflection and serenity training, I am able to accept that there are now 2 Spider-Men. But rest assured, I will continue holding them to the highest standard, and will be the first to call them out when they come up short. Which they will. Often. That is my promise to you. And this is J. Jonah Jameson, signing off. Until next time. On this very special episode, I'm joined by newly elected Councilwoman Rio Morales of Harlem, who has been instrumental in the effort to scale back Roxxon's expansion plans following the revelations that they endangered New Yorkers with their highly unstable energy source, Newform. Welcome, Councilwoman. Friends, small businesses are the backbone of America, and they have no greater champion than Jonah Jameson. But they have an enemy, too. Spider-Man. Apparently, he's been disrupting their supply chains in Harlem. Here to tell us about it is the proprietor of local restaurant Panafuerte. Buenvenidos, Camila! Folks, the feast centers have had a rough go ever since their founder, Martin Lee, turned out to be the mad bomber known as Mr. Negative. But I believe in the feast centers because I knew May Parker, the brave woman who literally gave her life to keep them going. So I was distressed to hear the Harlem branch recently suffered a damaging flood. With us is Gloria, director of that center. Today I want to address some rumors making the rounds of the pool halls and sleazy bars that Roxxon has been intentionally trying to destabilize Harlem in order to make it cheaper and easier for them to acquire properties. Now, you all know my distaste for conspiracy theories. If there's proof, I will be the first to condemn malfeasance. But until that happens, it is poisonous, irresponsible, and wrong to repeat such baseless and inflammatory claims. That's the kind of behavior I'd expect from someone like Spider-Man, who several people have told me enjoys a destabilized neighborhood himself because it creates more crime and thus more opportunities for him to make himself look good. So let's be careful what we say and stick to the facts, okay, people? I have warned of the dangers of electronic billboards ever since they replaced the art form that was the traditional billboard with their garish, ugly glow. A glow known to induce migraines in, well, me. And now, as usual, I'm proven right. Digital billboards are being hacked by the underground and Spider-Man. It's like when graffiti artists go to war over who can paint the most obnoxious mural. And I just want to get ahead of something, in case a certain image, purloined from my personal camera roll, appears on one of those billboards. That was the before shot. In the after shot, I am chiseled and rippling with muscle. I'd post that picture on your website, but I am prevented from doing so by a sense of propriety and decorum unknown to anyone who traipses around town in a skin-tight spider costume. Just remember, chiseled, ripped, JJJ all day, and you can be too if you buy my patented JJ Jacked protein powder, just $29.99 on our website. Let me set the scene for you. A storefront robbery, terrified victims. But wait, here's Spider-Man, the so-called hero. He swoops in and bungles it completely. No crooks brought to justice. No stolen money recovered. A fail in every conceivable way. Ha! I thought the old Spider-Man was incompetent. But let me tell you, if he's franchising out his brand to the likes of this kid, he needs to keep the training wheels on a while longer. Friendly. Neighborhood. Two words the low-information listener likes to associate with Spider-Man. But during a recent decidedly unfriendly altercation between the underground protesters and Roxxon guards, this young vigilante inserted himself and accomplished absolutely nothing but getting even more heads busted than would have happened otherwise. Is there such a thing as a remedial Spider-Man class? Because that is where this kid belongs. With a dunce cap on. Jared tells me social media is #fire about this new Spider-Man app people are using to hire Spider-Man to do various side hustles. English language. What has become of you? Anyway, I'll admit, this attempt for the masked menace to legitimize himself is novel. At least he's finally bound to terms of service instead of just running rampant like a social disease at Studio 54.
But on the other hand, you have to ask yourself, do you really trust someone who won't show his face to deliver your food? Who knows what he could be doing to it mid-transit? Or what kind of filth he's taking shortcuts through just to get a higher rating? Or what living sand, scorpion venom, or Nazi bees might contaminate your dinner along the way? And then you're gonna put what he gives you in your mouth? Thanks, but no thanks. I'm getting my food the old-fashioned way, by making Jared pick it up. No app required. Hop to it, Jared. I am peckish. Are you afraid of heights? Imagine being a window washer trapped 80 stories up when your platform short circuits. You think that's bad? Then imagine Spider-Man interfering, and under the guise of trying to help, practically electrocuting you when you're stuck with nowhere to go. Now, through sheer luck, the poor window washer made it down alive. And in a clear case of Stockholm Syndrome, he even says Spider-Man helped him, the poor fellow. Please join me in sending thoughts and prayers that his mental functions will soon be restored to normal. So I keep hearing irrational raves from hormonally unbalanced youths Jared's age. Wait, you're how old? Good heavens, man, get a real job! About this friendly neighborhood Spider-Man app. They claim this young Spider-Man can do anything. Well, I just used said app to place an order of saganaki from my favorite Greek restaurant in Astoria, specifying I wanted it delivered fresh and in the traditional Greek manner, set ablaze in front of me. We shall see if our boastful boy Spider-Man can fulfill this. Friends, have you been worried about that haven of hacktivist horrors, the underground? Are you refraining from texting the wife sweet nothings for fear they'll show up on electronic traffic signs on FDR Drive? Well, good news. I'm told that all the underground's bases are shut down. What? No, Jared, I will not say our belong to us. That's grammatically incorrect. What's wrong with you? Anyway, I'm not ready to call the danger eliminated. There are individual members still at large, and all it takes is one bad apple with a laptop and an attitude. But it sounds like the threat is drastically reduced. Now we just have to worry about the thousands of scam artists trying to steal our passwords, which I can never remember to begin with. This never happened with rotary phones. Folks, I've heard differing opinions from my discerning listeners about Roxxon's security force. On the one hand, and this is fair, there are some of the same concerns I have about Spider-Man. These are not law enforcement officers and do not answer to the same standards. On the other hand, Roxxon has every right to protect its property and interests. And many of the skirmishes people are concerned about started because Spider-Man broke and entered into Roxxon's places of business. Now, I'm told these incidents have died down, but I ask you, if a stranger in a skin-tight suit burst into your bedroom at night, what would you do? No, wait, that was rhetorical. Jared, shut down the comments. You people are sick. So glad you asked, caller. Without question, Roxxon Plaza is American ingenuity at its finest. Green energy for the tree huggers, groundbreaking new tech for Wall Street, and jobs for the locals. Look, we faced a terrible tragedy with last year's Devil's Breath crisis. It's taken time to rebuild. But Roxxon stepped up to the plate, invested millions creating a state-of-the-art facility in a neighborhood that, let's face it, wasn't exactly booming. The way I see it, Roxxon Plaza's a Christmas gift for the people of Harlem and all of New York. I understand some folks fear change, but it's a good thing. Take it from Jonah Jameson. Jared, not 3 sugars, not 1 sugar! Tahoo sugars! For 40 years, it's been Tahoo sugars! Never do this to me again! Friends, today I came in and caught Jared doing something disgusting with his computer. Listening to another podcast. It was some hysterical young woman going on unhinged rants about unfounded conspiracy theories. And Jared tells me she's quite popular among the young and ill-informed. I want to assure you that I will never stoop to those levels. Sure, you can get attention by peddling in crazy rumors like this tinkerer who supposedly leads the underground and tags the walls of innocent property owners with his or her ink. But this show is called Just the Facts. We deal in verifiable truths. Like the fact that some of these tags are so high, you'd have to climb walls to place them. And who do we know who climbs walls? Oh, that's right. So I will not be delving into gossip about the tinkerer. But you can. We have a First Amendment. So if this is indeed what people are talking about, call in and tell me what you think. Just who are the underground? Who is their mysterious leader, the one who calls themselves the tinkerer? Our next caller claims to have the scoop. Speak! Wait a minute! Who are you? How'd you get this number? A smartass, eh? Well, let me tell you something. You are a terrorist. Your leader is a terrorist. It doesn't matter a lick what your motives are. If you hurt people, you are an enemy of this city. New York will never kowtow to anyone, especially not some socially inept keyboard jockey who's probably living in their mom's basement. Of course, that was a dramatic recreation, Orson Welles style, of what could happen if we let the underground get out of control. A cautionary fictional tale from your pal JJJ. No need to worry, your financial info is safe as houses. But just as a precautionary measure, you may want to cancel all your credit cards. I do it myself every 3 months. It's just good sense. And that's today's JJJ PSA. A culprit has emerged in the mysterious outages plaguing Harlem's subway lines. The new Spider-Man. It seems that the young menace in training was spotted futzing around with transit authority equipment. Without authorization, of course, because he's a lawless vigilante. But don't take my word for it. Please welcome Harlem Transit operator Dennis to the show. Speak! Oh, come on. Why would a guy who swings hundreds of feet above Manhattan gridlock have a clue that something could be wrong in your feces-infested death tubes unless he was involved somehow? Even if I believe the kid was able to fix a problem the city's most generously paid engineers couldn't, it still sounds like a blatant false flag operation to score publicity. And I know you're a paid shill, probably hired by the senior Spider-Man to hype his juvenile delinquent tribute act. Well, Jonah Jameson does not fall for that sort of thing, sir. I urge all my listeners to boycott the subway until Dennis is thoroughly investigated. Do what I do. Have Jared drive you. I'm not joking. He has to do ride shares or he can't pay his rent. Watch your business take off, Jared. You're welcome. My producer, Jared, was insistent that we have you on. Something about needing to broaden our demographics, especially after your recent appearance on another, much less popular show. We need not dirty ourselves with past mistakes, Councilwoman. I myself was hornswoggled by Roxxon's PR machine, but we've all learned our lessons and moved on. Speaking of which, with Roxxon's significant investment in Harlem now scuttled, how do you plan to bring prosperity to your community? I think it's readily apparent that this is an area that struggled for quite some time. About that, you are now a publicly elected official. You are obligated to serve according to a constitution, laws, and time-tested ethical requirements, which I'm sure you respect. How can you reconcile that responsibility with your support of a vigilante who isn't bound by any of the same safeguards? I'm happy to spend all day arguing why that sleep could easily become a nightmare. But we're out of time, and your approval polls are very high. So I'll just say thank you, Councilwoman. Jared will be sending you some lovely parting gifts, including my J. Jonah Java, the decaf substitute doctors like mine are insisting their patients of a certain age drink. If you down it fast, you almost believe it's real coffee. Jameson out. Folks, I'll grant you it's convenient to have phones with flashlights in them. Seriously, why are restaurants so dark and menu types so small? But these insidious devices have become a perverse combination of crack cocaine and peep shows. a window into every sick impulse lurking in the depths of the human soul. And perhaps the worst example of all of this is the new Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man app. That's right. If your life isn't already full of chaos, terror, and violence, you can request a dangerous mass psycho be delivered right to your door. It'd be laughable, if not for the thousands of downloads. Have you people lost your minds? While that menace gets Mr. Fluffy out of a tree, he's probably using a Trojan worm to spearfish your bank account information. Oh, and you wanted proof he's working with these underground hackers? Here it is. But go ahead, ignore me. Just don't come crying to Jonah Jameson when that private snapshot of the mole on your tuchus that you were going to send to the dermatologist shows up on a Times Square billboard. Jared's taking a course, which he's clearly gonna fail. But having a Spider-Man in your neighborhood, fighting criminals in the streets, that can't be good for business. Thank you, madam. I think we can all use Jesus right about now. Especially Jared, as soon as we cut to commercial. I said cut to commercial. Take your medicine like a man. Wonderful. I'm donating 10% of my paycheck for this week, and half of Jared's. Now, I'm hearing Spider-Man may have been responsible for the flood. And I'm going to stop you there, because we have a strict policy of not saying anything that will get me sued. Incidentally, I'm pretty sure Spider-Man can't afford lawyers. We're out of time. Thanks so much for joining us, Gloria. And remember, everyone, if you want to be a real hero, not like a certain masked menace, donate to Feast. Jared, cut her mic before I end up in the poorhouse. Jared, call 911! Spider-Man's broken in and is killing us with fire! I'll be darned if this isn't delicious. Go to commercial, Jared. I got some feasting to do. Oh no, you should have ordered your own. This is mine. Mine, Jared. Ow, that's hot. Friends, Jolly Jonah is not feeling very jolly for a change. Why? Because I defended Roxxon security forces as necessary to protect their property. But since then, we've all learned that this shady private army was engaging in extra-legal shenanigans that put even Spider-Mans to shame. Luckily, I'm getting word that their clandestine paramilitary bases have all been shut down, mostly by Spider-Man, which is a nice bit of poetic justice, don't you think? I'm not one to defend that webbed menace, but at least he doesn't pretend to be anything but a dangerous scofflaw, a malefactor, and a delinquent. You know what? I'm getting jollier by the minute. Shut up, Jared. Especially Jared, as soon as we cut to commercial. I said cut to commercial. Take your medicine like a man. Folks, I'll grant you it's convenient to have phones with flashlights in them. Seriously, why are restaurants so dark and menu types so small? But these insidious devices have become a perverse window into every sick impulse lurking in the depths of the human soul. And perhaps the worst example of all of this is the new Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man app. That's right. If your life isn't already full of chaos, terror, and violence, you can request a dangerous mass psycho be delivered right to your door. Ha! 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 And yet, it has thousands of downloads. Have you people lost your minds? While that junior menace gets Mr. Fluffy out of a tree, he's probably using a Trojan worm to spearfish your bank account information. But go ahead. Ignore me. Just don't come crying to Jonah when that private snapshot of the mole on your tuchus that you were going to send to the dermatologist shows up on a Times Square billboard. Friends, today I came in and caught Jared doing something disgusting with his computer. Listening to another podcast. It was some hysterical young woman going on rants about unfounded conspiracy theories. And Jared tells me she's quite popular among the young and ill-informed. I want to assure you that I will never stoop to those levels. Sure, you can get attention by peddling in crazy rumors like this tinkerer and her gang, the Underground, tagging the walls of innocent property owners with ink. But this show is called Just the Facts. We deal in verifiable truths, like the fact that some of these tags are so high you'd have to climb walls to place them. And who do we know who climbs walls? Oh, ho, ho! That's right. So I will not be delving into gossip about the Tinkerer, but you can. We have a First Amendment. So if this is indeed what people are talking about, call in and tell me what you think. Friends, today I'm going to have to be the disappointed parent. Not because of Jared. He's actually doing a fine job for a change. No, I'm disappointed that once again, some of you have allowed yourselves to be convinced that it's okay for a complete stranger with zero legal authority to parade around in a Halloween costume pretending to be some kind of savior. And once again, that misplaced faith has resulted in an unimaginable disaster. The truth is, it doesn't matter if you think Spider-Man is good. It doesn't even matter if he thinks he's good. What matters is that every time something gets destroyed in this city, he's there. Or now, his protege is. Ask yourselves, with all these crises we've faced, can we really afford to deal with twice as many? And where will it all end? Spider-Woman? Spider-Punk? Spider-Pig? Oh! While I vomit at that thought, enjoy these important messages from our fine sponsors. Oh! Today I have the honor of welcoming Roxxon Energy's head of R&D, Simon Krieger. Mr. Krieger, you've been out promoting the benefits of your new form reactors, the first of which is set to open in Harlem soon. Yet, you've had some critics. Oh, well, I'm blushing. Let me give you some advice. One highly successful man to another. You know what I like to say to my critics? You and the horse you rode in on! Fine. What do you mean? Jared, how much? Do your editing thing, quick! Listeners, you all know that I pride myself on truth, integrity, and facts. I've been tough on this new Spider-Man since the disaster on Braithwaite Bridge. For good reason. The kid screwed things up so bad, even the original model would have blushed redder than his costume. The classic one, not that ugly new thing. But today, I must also acknowledge that the city is rallying around this youngster and proclaiming him a hero. With an unstable energy source on the verge of wiping Harlem off the map, this youthful Spider-Man reportedly stepped in and saved lives. Or at least that's what his supporters want us to think. The real truth is that none of this would have happened if he hadn't donned a ridiculous suit and started swinging willy-nilly around the city, performing reckless acts of violence. Hero? More like zero? Ha! Jared, open up the lines. I want to hear from those who agree with me. Jared? I said open up the lines. What do you mean they're open? Well, something must be wrong. Folks, we're having technical difficulties. Please stand by. My producer, Jared, was insistent that we have you on. Something about needing to broaden our demographics in light of another much less popular show. My listeners would like to know, how do you plan to bring prosperity to your community? I think I speak for everyone when I say it's an area that has struggled for quite some time. Today, I want to address some rumors making the rounds of the pool halls and sleazy bars. Supposedly, Wilson Fisk has been trying to destabilize Harlem in order to make it cheaper and easier for him to acquire properties. All from behind bars. Now, you all know my distaste for conspiracy theories. If there's proof, I will be the first to condemn malfeasance. But until that happens, it is poisonous, irresponsible, and wrong to repeat such baseless and inflammatory claims. That's the kind of behavior I'd expect from someone like Spider-Man, who several people have told me enjoys a destabilized neighborhood himself because it creates more crime and thus more opportunities for him to make himself look good. So, let's be careful what we say and stick to the facts. Okay, people, some disturbing news has just crossed my desk. Spider-Man was recently involved in a nauseating act of depravity. Stealing toys from children. Is there anything lower than that? Why, yes, there is, my faithful flock. Do you know what was found in this stolen stash? Spider-Man toys. Not only does he steal from children, he bullies them into playing with toys they probably don't even want. The nerve! The audacity! Which is why I'm announcing a new venture for the Just the Facts team. Jonah Jameson action figures. I have a prototype right here in front of me, and let me tell you, this is one handsome toy. Oh my goodness, what a specimen! Any self-respecting child, or adult, I won't judge, would be lucky to get their hands on this masterpiece. In fact, Jared, order 10 for me and 10 for my wife. Get one for yourself, too. It'll come out of your next paycheck. You're welcome. Listen up, people. I finally have scientific proof that Spider-Man is a crime against nature. Allow me to explain. A recent incident involving a construction crane and a tiny bit of ice turned into a spider snafu when the masked menace decided to intervene. The result? A disaster the likes of which this city has never seen. We have yet to receive a body count, but I can assure you it will be... What's that? I'm being told no lives were lost, thank heavens, but the number of injured is likely significant. We're still awaiting word from local hospitals on just how many... Seriously? I'm now being told there were no injuries. However, this doesn't change the fact that this tragedy could have been avoided if Spider-Man had just let nature take its course. Jared, get me new fact checkers. I know they're your roommates. Get me new ones. Get rid of the one with the beanie. Friends, have you been worried about that callous club of cretins, the Underground? Are you refraining from leaving your house to visit the local cafe for fear these punks will show up and poison your double-iced cappuccino? Well, good news. I'm told that all the Underground's hideouts are shut down. But I'm not ready to call the danger eliminated. There are individual members still at large, and all it takes is one bad apple. But it seems we can now start to worry about other things. Like the no-good scam artists using public Wi-Fi to hack into our phones and steal our passwords, which I could never remember to begin with. Oh, this never happened with rotary phones.